Hello everyone and welcome back to the Silicon Nubian YouTube channel where we're all about things tech. Today we're going to take a look at my favorite Linux distribution and the one that I've been running for quite a while on my main get work done quote-unquote PC here in the office, Manjaro Linux. Recently, the developers of Manjaro released the third major version or third major revision of their version 17 line Manjaro Linux version 17 release. So this is version 17.0.3. They did drop a bombshell with this release in that this will probably be the last release where a 32-bit version is available. They're moving strictly to 64-bit. I applaud them for this, but some people may not like that. Please take note. So this may well be the last 32-bit available version of Manjaro, although today we are looking at the 64-bit version. What's new in this release? Well, the latest LTS kernel from the Linux 4.9 series is included. The latest Xorg stack from 1.19 series, latest Plasma 5, apps and framework and Qt, updates to our graphical package managers, enhancements and improvements to our Manjaro tools and profiles. MHWD adopted a more efficient way to handle libglx binaries, updated and new design themes and styles, updates to Calmaris, which is their incredible installer that they used. To throw another monkey wrench into what we're looking at today, we're actually looking at the GNOME version. GNOME uses Wayland in the background for its graphical user interface or its graphical server. Wayland is definitely gotten a lot of attention for people. It's noted for its smoothness of operation and other things. It's the next level, although GNOME does support it. We're not going to get into the technicalities of Wayland and why you would want to or not to, but read up a little bit on it. I may put a little blurb on what Wayland is in the information with this video. So that's a big thing as well. And GNOME, I have not used GNOME under Manjaro at all. So let's log in. Okay, this is directly post installation. All I have done is installed and run the updates. And here we see the Gnome Desktop. Interesting how the first thing I noticed, being that it's GNOME, is the throwback bar here down, kind of throwback to the 2.x version of GNOME, but you'll see soon that the version is definitely in the 3s. Here we have the Welcome to Manjaro screen. Pop-up that happens every time you boot in. I actually like it. You have the README, the forums, release info right here, and they talk about the XFCE and the KDE version. Interestingly, though, they don't really mention a GNOME version that much, but it is available on the website, and it definitely comes directly from the Manjaro developers. So we're going to take a look at that today. Let's start things off and see what version of the kernel is running. So we have the 4.9.48-1 Manjaro. I guess it's their custom kernel, preempt. So that's very recent. And now, just for curiosity's sake, what version of GNOME are they running? Yeah. 3.24.3. So we're definitely high up there with respect to GNOME releases. So there we have it, kernel 4.9.48-1 and GNOME version 3.24.3. That's what's running directly post-install and, of course, after just running the initial updates. Manjaro, of course, is based on Arch Linux. It is a rolling release, meaning you install once and through the update processes, you will always have the latest version of the operating system. So let's poke around a bit. Over here we have, looks like GNOME. Oh, we have the Manjaro updater up here, which will inform you when the updates are available. We have as you've seen in some of my other videos where the distributions use GNOME, we have the normal pop-up here. All of these will give you the same one, where we have lock, power, and the settings. We're going to get to that later. We have, of course, the calendar with notifications. Very good. And weather, we can select the weather location and have the weather go in there, which is good. Let's look on this hybrid side that they've done. They've gotten rid of the hot corner. In GNOME releases, for example, in the last video that I did put out, you notice that GNOME has a hot corner which will pop up this menu. I'm going to show you right now what Manjaro, the developers, have done. They've been giving us all the favorite apps right here. Okay, so Firefox is the default web browser, or the web browser, and I have no issues with that whatsoever. Of course, as I mentioned in all my reviews and look-arounds, is that and overviews, I should say, is that one of the beauties of Linux is its pliability, and you can install anything, make it look different, do a lot of different things. So here we have a menu. Instead of having a hot corner, they have a more traditional Windows or XFCE / KDE style menu. Cinnamon, for example. And here we have everything is separated. We have all applications, and we have frequent apps, favorite apps, which mirrors what's on the toolbar here. Accessories, calculator, HP device manager, notes, maps, weather, education, LibreOffice, games, Steam. Good, Steam client is included in the default install. I have not installed any applications. What you see is what you get when you do install the latest version of Manjaro. So we have GThumb, we have LibreOffice Draw, Simple Scan, Internet, of course we have Firefox, XChat, we have some other things there. Transmission, of course, for torrents and downloads. You get Office, we have LibreOffice, so that's great. I've mentioned this in a lot of my overviews and reviews, in that I am very particular about being able to get up and running very quickly and be productive almost immediately after installing the distribution, and not spend hours and hours trying to get the software that I need, at least initially. Icon Browser, Sound and Video, Brasero, which is a CD burning software. Cheese, of course, for webcam functionality, Lollipop, videos and whatnot. Sundry, Adobe Flash Player, which is included by default. That's something that's interesting there. System Tools, Add Remove Software, we'll get to that soon. Gparted. We have a lot of different things here. Very good. SUSE Studio Image Creator. Interesting. That's very interesting. That's included. Okay. Utilities, Archive Manager, Disusage Analyzer, System Monitor, and whatnot. Here we go. Very good. So we can see that post boot up, and I've clicked on a few things, but with this only window open, I have just under 834, let's call it 834 megabytes of memory used, which is actually not bad. Of course, this will be more than XFCE, but in my past experience, this is still less than KDE, for example. But your mileage may vary depending on the distribution and what they have running in the background after boot up. So we have that. We have others: Manjaro notifier settings, Qt5 settings, search and indexing. We can also get through all of that through the normal GNOME menu. And we see all this stuff that's here. So there, as I've seen on many different distributions, there's many ways to skin a cat. Sorry, cat lovers. There's many ways to get at your applications, and I applaud Manjaro for doing this in a very unobtrusive way. We go to Tweak Tool. This is and other GNOME distributions. Recent ones I've seen, this Tweak Tool is identical. It's right here. Very good. You can tweak all different aspects of the look, feel, and operation of the distribution. Okay, we'll get that down right there. Let's check this out now. This is the Update Manager. and it is set out of the box to time to wait before first check in seconds is 15. Time interval between updates check in minutes is once an hour. Strip out version numbers. Indicator always visible. I just find that these defaults, the settings that are there, are fine. I don't really touch that. And that's fine with me. If you're more interested in what's going on, you could always change this to all your update names and all this other stuff. But I don't find it necessary. Good to see, being a rolling release, that Manjaro have included a functioning update manager, and I have automatic update manager and checker, and I have used it and it works great. So let's continue on a few other things here. So go to System Tools, Add and Remove Software. You will type in what you want, and you'll see all that's available for you. There we have Chromium web browser. We have all kind of different things. We have all of these are available as usual. Now, one of the very powerful things about Manjaro, being that it's built on an Arch base, or it's derived, I say it's just an Arch derivative, is the AUR. The AUR is the Arch User Repository. Okay, in Linux, software called packages come from repositories, which are basically remote computers somewhere where they store all the new packages or older or whatever programs you may want to install. Now, if they can't have everything, there are tens of thousands of packages available, but the Arch, or in this case the Manjaro repositories, may not have something that you're looking for. What's happened is, for example, a printer that I had prior was not available. The driver for it was not available in the normal Manjaro repository. So I went to the AUR, Arch User Repository. You can't get there by default if you look for software. For example, if I type in brother printer, nothing comes up. If I type in brother. But I want to show you something really quick. If I go to enable the AUR, by default the AUR is, these are packages which are created and maintained by individual users who are outside of the official package maintainers for Manjaro. But some of these users, a lot of them actually, are very reliable. So how would I see what's in the AUR? Well, this is how you do it. You'll go into Preferences. Of course, you'll need to authenticate. And you'll click on AUR and you will enable it. All of a sudden now, you have many more packages available to you. Of course, the one thing that you have to be mindful of is these are not coming from the official Manjaro repository. Therefore, there might be some dangers with respect to package integrity, maintenance, and whatnot. But I've found that it's quite good. When you do run system updates, by the way, even if the packages, some of them come from the AUR, they are updated automatically, just like all the packages that come from the official repositories. So let's just look at the settings here, though. We have remove unrequired dependencies. That's unchecked. Check all of disk space. Check for updates. Hide tray icon when when no update is available. Here are the official repositories. Use mirrors from worldwide. This is great. You can select mirrors in your country if you know that they are up-to-date mirrors, and you can select them within your country. Potentially, this has the positive effect of making your downloads and search for packages faster. Sort mirrors by speed and refresh mirror list. Of course, we enabled the AUR, and here's the cache. Remove only versions of uninstalled packages. This is basically a nice setting that you could check to keep your disk space from ballooning over time. So we go from that. So we're going to shut this down, and just going to start it up again. Now, just to double check, preferences. Yes, the AUR is enabled. And what we have, if we go to Chrome, what you'll see over here is if there's a package that I don't have, it'll say the repository is the AUR. Now it's coming for, these are the official, community, extra, and whatnot. Okay, I'm not saying all packages are going to be available. It just is something that I found very useful in Arch, and because of its fantastic community, and by definition, Manjaro being a derivative of Arch Linux. So let's poke around a little bit more. Right-clicking, we can change the background. Same GNOME pop-up I've seen in other GNOME-based distros. Display settings, we'll have to select the display. Very simple. No problems there. And go back to the settings panel. Now there's a few ways to get here. I can get there from here. I can click on one of these icons and get there from here as well. The typical GNOME settings panel, we have background notifications, privacy, online accounts, region, and it continues and continues. It's not as extensive as, for example, the OpenSUSE Tumbleweed tools that I've seen, but I've never had to or felt that I needed more. Not to slight OpenSUSE Tumbleweed, which I found very nice, just that most definitely it's enough for me. So we have all the settings that we need. Go on sharing. We could do a lot of different things here. Okay. Do I think Arch is for everyone? No. Most definitely. Do I think that Manjaro, which is an easier intro into the Arch environments for everyone? No either. There are some times when in Manjaro, being based on Arch, that you may have to get your hands dirty. Now this is rare. I found it's become more rare than it was a few years ago when I was using Arch. But that being said, I would not recommend Manjaro for brand newbies who are coming into Linux. They have the Ubuntus and the Linux Mint and those kind of distributions that will cater to them a lot better. But if you're a moderate to advanced user, Manjaro Linux is fantastic. You get all of the power of Arch Linux, of course, without the step-by-step install. It's pre-configured for you. But what's great about that is the developers of Manjaro Linux, in my opinion, have made very, very good choices with respect to software and setup. I've never used the GNOME version. The beautiful thing about Manjaro is I can easily go ahead and install XFCE, for example, or I can go and install KDE, Plasma, if I want. It's up to me. I found, although Linux in of itself is very pliable and you can twist it and turn it any way you want, I found Manjaro and the Arch-based Linux derivatives are even more so. There's so much things you can do, and you do learn a lot about your Linux system. So that's pretty much it with respect to this look at Manjaro. Comes out of the box fairly lean. Pretty lean. You can twist it and turn it the way you want. My experience with Manjaro has been very positive. I think there was only one time that I had an issue with booting into Cinnamon, and that was because the Cinnamon developers had jumped ahead of another developer, and there were some dependencies, but I just booted into XFCE, and what I learned was it's always good when you're running these kind of rolling release distributions to have more than one GUI available to you. For example, I might have this and install XFCE and boot into GNOME if I want to, or XFCE at the same time. You can make comments down below whether or not you agree with me. This is just something I do so that I can remain productive if there's an issue that happens, which, by the way, is very rare. At least it's been rare for me. If you're using a lot of third-party packages, or the majority of your packages are coming from the AUR, well, then you might be courting disaster to a point, but I still feel a lot more comfortable with Manjaro than some other distributions I've used in the past, and I don't need to name those. So that's a quick overview and look at Manjaro Linux, an Arch Linux-based derivative based derivative, and really good way to get into the Arch way of doing things without having to lift any heavy weights to get this thing installed and functioning as you wish. I do recommend Manjaro for moderate to expert users, people with at least some experience within Linux. This is not a Linux distribution that I would put on someone's system who just started into Linux. No, I would not. Not because anything is negative about Manjaro, but just because it is I would call, quote unquote, a deeper system. And there are other distributions for those kind of people. I mentioned before Ubuntu, also Linux Mint, Zorin, for example, but that's its claim to fame, and I'll be looking at that soon. Performance is stellar for the Arch-based derivatives. Most definitely, and Manjaro does benefit from that, even with what they call is a heavy GNOME interface, which I didn't find it very heavy at all with Manjaro. So that's my quick look at Manjaro Linux. I continue to use it, and it continues to impress me. If you have any comments, leave it below. You have any additions or things that I've omitted in this quick overview of Manjaro Linux, and don't hesitate to put them down in comments. Thumbs up if you like it. If you don't like it, well, I'm sorry. I'll try to do better next time. But if you like what I'm doing here, please subscribe. We do have a build coming up real soon. My Linux machine has been dismantled and the parts sold, and I'm building another one to put Manjaro on. It will be in an AMD Ryzen based mini ITX system, something you don't want to miss. So thank you very much for watching, and remember to subscribe. Tell people about this channel. Thank you very much.